preparing, packaging, and exporting documents for print in InDesign. So as an overview of these items, let's just navigate through the interface and see where you locate them. So when we talk about printer's marks, we talk about crop marks, bleed marks, color bars, registration marks, and we find those when we print a document. Now if I do a File and New Document, I see my new document dialog box. If you don't have your bleed and slug areas extended, you can click the arrow and see that you can then input an amount for a bleed and a slug. If I don't do that in my new document dialog box, I easily can go back and do that in my document setup under File, Document Setup. This is a location where I can change some of those settings, for instance width, height, orientation, and here's my bleed and slug. When I go to Print, File, and Print, I get my Print dialog box, which actually has a lot of areas, a lot of settings here that I can control. One of those being in the marks and bleed areas here. And here's where I can choose to print all of my printer's marks, or I can choose just which ones I want to print. As I'm working through a document in InDesign, I may be working with spot colors, I may be working with a lot of different color combinations, and with my ink manager I'm able to specify how the document will color separate, and it allows me also to look at my spot inks and potentially convert them to process. I find that ink manager under the swatches menu, in the options menu, ink manager towards the bottom. That again opens up all of the colors. This document is a brand new document. I don't have colors in there. We'll look at this in more detail in a future recording, but I can see exactly what I'm doing here as far as colors. Two other very useful tools as we go ahead and think about output. Under the window menu, Output, we have a couple of really useful tools. One is the separations preview. This allows me to see at a glance how a document will color separate, and I can inspect each plate. Back under window menu and output, I also have a pre-flight, and this actually allows me to pre-flight and then lead me into packaging, and this is more of an automated process. The pre-flight will check for errors, and again we'll look at this in more detail. And when I'm ready to send this document down the road, under File I can do Save As to save it as an InDesign document, of course, but I also have an export feature. A couple of the main exports that I have, the PDF, and we have an interactive PDF and a print PDF, more of a low and a high PDF. We have an EPS, we have JPEGs, we have a lot of options here. We have a SWIFT, HTML, so we have many ways that we can export and share our InDesign documents. So there's an overview of preparing, packaging, and exporting documents for print.